So, like we saw in the previous video, we will continue with the same discussion on Ransom's concept of texture in poetry. So, he says there are things that are organic to the poem, like similes, metaphors, and imagery. So, these are the things that need to be studied and that a critic needs to pay attention to. He even considered including within this scope quotes of phrases, and he believed that they also could possibly form the elemental core of the poem that gives the poem its particular aesthetic form. So, in other words, what he was saying is that it is the words. The arrangement of the words, the structure of the poem, the punctuation, the stanzaic form, the rhythm, the meter, these are the things we need to pay attention to. And on the other hand, what are the things we need to overlook or discount? Those are moralistic and ideological approaches or ideological elements and parameters which are determined by moralistic and ideological grounds, as these lie outside the scope of the work and they focus only on the theme and the larger politics. Right? So, in that sense, then John Crow Ransom was both against the neoliberals or the neo humanists on the one hand and the Marxists on the other. Now, let's figure out why he did not subscribe to either of these two schools. Because he felt that the new neo humanist approach, which put man at the center or the individual at the center of everything, was too philosophical in its approach, whereas the Marxist approach completely invisibilized the text in which it needed to consider, and instead it emphasized the socio-economic and cultural factors which may have led to the creation of that particular poem or literary piece. So Ransom, in fact, advocated a structural understanding of poetry by drawing attention to the structure, the form of the poem. In this, he came very close to the Russian school of formalism, and he suggested that a poem needs to be divided into a logical core and a logical texture. Now, the logical core has to do with the thematic elements, and it looks at the what question. That what is it that the poem says, while the logical texture uh, focuses on the object of the poem that is presented and what elements have given the poem its current shape, its current identity, and its current form. So, in this approach, automatically the stylistic analysis gains precedence or importance, and there's a clear differentiation between ideological and aesthetic elements with a thrust on the latter, that is, on the aesthetics of a poem, on the look of a poem. Right? And diction, imagery, metaphor, rhyme, and meter, and elements which shape the aesthetic nature of the work become important and come in the scope of the study. So, this is what Ransom meant by texture in poetry.